So normally I would introduce him as Jonathan Richard, but it's actually Jonathan Richard, right? Jonathan Richard from the team of Ferdinand Berthoud. So okay, first thing I want to talk about is the following.
He's the marketing manager,
He's
marketing and communication manager.
Marketing communications manager from Ferdinand Berthoud, but though, you might as well say hello to this gentleman too. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Please introduce yourself to the camera.
So, nice to meet you. Vincent Lapère. I am the general manager of Chronométrie Ferdinand Berthoud.
Exactly, he's the man. This is the thing I want to talk about, right? Right now we have the emergence, I would say probably in the last 5 to 10 years, of so many small independent watchmakers who make a three-hand watch. And I like to call this the spiritual three-hand watch, where they pray at in the moonlight, and they're doing some dance around it, and they put 17 million inner angles in there, right? And they say this is the greatest achievement in independent watchmaking, right? No. The greatest achievement in terms of a three-hand watch is this watch right here. Would you agree?
I agree a little bit.
Yes. Jonathan, would you agree?
We spent a lot of time to do it, yes, so we could agree for it.
So this is the SPC from Ferdinand Berthoud. It is their three-hand watch. It is their most accessible model, and it is probably one of the greatest achievements of all time as a time-only watch, right? May I also point out, it is also cost certified as well. So it is
Yes.
From a chronometric perspective, and I do find it kind of strange when people call a watch a chronometer, but there's no certification, because it's like calling yourself good looking, right? You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a good looking man. It's like, no, bro, you can't say that. Someone else has to say that for you, right? So let's talk a little bit about this watch, because it is also a beautiful expression of the marine chronometer-like architecture of Ferdinand Berthoud's watches. But beautifully expressed with a very special hairspring and some of the most extraordinary finishing, not show-off finishing, but real horological finishing. So Jonathan, take it away, brother.
Thank you, Wei. So the RB3 collection is directly inspired by those marine clocks and pocket watches made by Ferdinand Berthoud and Wei Berthoud. So, and the inspiration from a mechanical point of view is this cylindrical spring that was mainly used on those marine clocks, especially to improve the precision when sailing at sea. Because it was with this vertical construction also kept horizontal with the gimbal system.
Right.
It was really had to reduce the friction on the axis of the balance wheel. But of course the challenge for us was to integrate this, let's say, mechanism in the wristwatch, but to keep this original purpose to improve the accuracy. So it was a long research and development of 3-4 years just to perfectly poise and balance everything, the size of the hairspring, the number of coils, the way it is with the terminal curve, what we call the Berthoud curves, because we have to do perfectly everything and weight the global regulating organ. This is the only way to be able to pass the cost, actually.
It's incredible. Okay, so I want you to come in closer, and I want to just point out some of my favorite parts about this watch. Well, first I want to show you that I pulled the crank out and it's actually hacking. So I don't know how you can call any chronometer today a chronometer if it's not stop seconds. You know what I mean? Right? Would you agree? Okay, so it's hacking, meaning that the balance wheel has been stopped, and you can see the size of that balance wheel. And you can probably see in its rest position what that hairspring looks like. So as you can see, it's cylindrical. It's got a special curve on both sides as well. And you can see the hairspring through this lateral window as well, which I think is really cool. Now let's talk about the architecture here. We have this beautiful bridge here for the barrel, right? Then we have another bridge on top of here for the balance wheel. And then we have two more bridges, one for the escape wheel here, and then one for the lever. Then this is really interesting. So actually I was wrong, it's not a simple three-hand watch, there's a power reserve. Now all of this comes from marine chronometers. So why is the power reserve so important? Well, bear in mind that a lot of the marine chronometers were not self-starting back in the day. They were set on gimbal systems. And there was one dude whose job was to make sure that the power reserve didn't go down, because if it stopped, you're screwed, right? Marine chronometers, and these are the incredible clocks that were made by Ferdinand Berthoud. When you're at the equator, every 1 second you're drifting like 480 meters, right? You basically drift like in 4.5 seconds, 1 nautical mile. And if you that compounds over the course of, let's say, a 1 month or 2 month journey, this is the reason why people, instead of going to like India, end up in America, right? You correct?
Absolutely.
So people were depending on their lives, with these type of watches. And I think that that's the thing I really like about what Jonathan and Vincent, and of course the incredible Carl Friedrich Schäufele have decided to do. They're making, again, this type of really meaningful watchmaking, this life or death watchmaking, you know? So I'm going to put that back in. So then on top of that, as I mentioned to you, you have the architecture of the movement kind of facing you, and it's, you know, there's a trend right now, Jonathan, right, where everyone wants to do finishing, right? But it's kind of like superfluous finishing if you're just creating things to finish for no reason. From my perspective. Here, it's beautifully executed and meaningful. There's inner angles where they naturally occur, but you're not creating them just to have them.
Yeah.
Your perspective on that, sir?
We have one value since the very beginning, that was to make everything functional, not for a decorative purpose. So every angle, everything is done, and even the parts that are hidden in the movement are decorating the same way. So that means even a collector or a watchmaker that wants to disassemble everything, they will look at every component, and the quality of finishing is about the same. And we spend like 200 hours of hand decoration on each movement of this category, for instance.
Well, talk to us about the process of creating an SPC. So first, I mean, how long does it take to create the hairspring to begin with, and to put the watch together, the past cost? Like, what's the time involved in that?
It's difficult to sum up just one, let's say, very specific period of time, because it takes a lot of time first to craft the components, and then they are also assemble everything. We have what we call really the master watchmaker also in our team, because they need to be capable of doing really everything from the first setting of the components, doing the hairspring, sending the watch to the cost. So they are really responsible for doing everything.
So just doing the hairspring, for example, you're using a machine from the 1950s. So it's like it projects it on a 20 times magnification, and people are trying to follow that curve. And if you get it wrong the first time because of the elasticity of the material, you can't redo the curve. You got to throw it away. So like just the curve for the hairspring, how long does that take?
I would say it depends, but at least a few days to perfectly adjust everything just for the hairspring.
A few days just for the hairspring. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, so once the movement is assembled, it's of course gone. It goes to COSC, and it's tested. What's it, -4+6? But probably you guys have an internal standard that's a little bit higher, I would imagine.
Yeah, from the first test that we've made at the real beginning, let's say that around 80% of the movement were in the range between -2 and +3. So that was really quite closer than the standards of the COSC criteria.
So we have two versions here, one with a beautiful gold finish for the movement, and one with a kind of a darker, more anthracite. Talk to us about these two versions. I know they're both made in the small series, which will be
20 pieces each.
20 pieces of this. Then you have 5 of each, which are going to be gem set with their bezels,
Exactly.
right? So 25. And these 50 pieces will be produced over the next 5 years. Is that?
Somehow, yes. We're in this category of movement. We are able to do roughly 20, 30 pieces in total, including also the previous collection that we have.
What's the price of the watch, if I may ask?
So this one is 158,000.
158,000, and the case is in
Platinum.
both in platinum.
Yes.
Okay, and one of the things that I want you guys to not look at, but to listen to, which we're going to do in a close-up for you as well, is just the sound of the rewinding of the barrel, like the click against the barrel as it's being wound. So we've left a little bit of power reserve left here on this one so you can hear it. It is a sound that has elevated just the rewinding of the barrel, like the oral sensation of that, to like an art form. It's just so beautiful sounding. I mean, Jonathan, why these small details, and how do you think of these things?
You know, all the movement that we have developed since the very beginning are mechanical one. So as a collector, this is the first experience that you will have
Yeah.
with a mechanical watch, the rewinding. So it really needs to be very smooth, something very soft, so that you can really appreciate the sound and the touch, the first experience you will have with the watch.
Absolutely magnificent watches. You know, I forgot to even ask what the dimensions of the watches are.
42 millimeters,
42 millimeters in the thickness, l'épaisseur.
around 12, 11, 12.
So it's interesting too because there's this whole conversation about people wanting to go to smaller sizes or whatever. To me, it's the size should be what is dictated meaningfully by the integration between the movement and the design, right? Mm-hmm. And this is there's nothing in here that's superfluous, right? Like you don't want it to be too cramped because you want to have this beautiful like language of all the different bridges. Anyway, on the wrist, I would say it sits perfectly, right? That's not by any means a oversized watch. It's just perfect, and you can see all of that movement architecture with the space it needs to breathe and express itself correctly. It's just simply awesome, man. I love it. It's probably one of the greatest things out there. And so, well done, Jonathan. And thanks for tuning in. If you like our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. And next year, Constant is going to be wearing only suits at the Watches and Wonders. Right, Constant? Yes, he's going to be suited up. And Hawaiian shirts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.